Dreamland. So, what's happening in your neck of the woods? You know, you look at YouTube and look at the news, and don't look too good. Donnie keeps giving these speeches. Hexhead, whatever his name is, the guy, head of the War Department, he's going to show up within the next week in front of the news, folks. He's I'm going to give you a news break. Hey, come. He's going to go out there naked with a lampshade on his head, drunk out of his mind. I run everything. I've just launched all the nuclear missiles. The second thing that could happen, supplant Hexhead with Donnie, and the same thing. Third is things just kind of chug along the way they're doing right now, and we start to lose aircraft carriers and Berkeley-class destroyers, right? And we're going to try and put some boots on the ground, and there's no place to put them. And so a couple of those get sunk, and 10,000 Marines die. So by the beginning of April, 2 aircraft carriers down, 6 Berkeley-class boats down, all the desalination plants in the Arab states and Israel down. All of the the little neck of the woods that the boats have to go through, totally mined, and that's in about a week and a half. What do you think? How do you think America will handle that? How is America going to handle anything, really? Are you ready for any of this? You prepared? You getting your garden ready? Got your drinking water? Fine. There's some kids in the basement of their mom's house in Tehran that are playing on the internet for the ICGG, to totally frack the internet in the United States and EU and the rest of the first world. You ready for that? Are you ready for some football? Want to get a hold of me? The dudeawake42 at Gmail. Dudeawake42 at Gmail, right? I've been doing these short things because no one says anything. There's one person there, thank you very much, and they gave me a thumbs up. Lots of different channels like Scott Ritter. He's really good on, what it is in Iran and Israel and all of that. No one's really talking about what's going on in Ukraine. And basically, we're going to have a version of World War II in Europe, right? And a little bit of nuclear exchanges. And then what is going to happen is Russia and Germany will become one country. They will be the strong man. They will build a new Titan of Europe that everyone will join, so they'll be protected, and they'll be under one hegemony of that, and that'll be one leg of the tripolar world. The other is the United States, South America, and Canada, right? And Canada, they're never gonna, no, I'm sorry, they will. They'll be the 51st state, or the United States will be the 51st state, and they'll be the number 1 state, one or the other. Can't make COVID look like an incidental event. Klaus Schwab, yeah, and Mr. Red Flag, and the guys are. There's a girl who's like talking to the Palladians or something, and she's going on about the white hats and the black hats, and that they're changing the vibration, and so that whole scene out of remember that movie They Live. When they blow up the antenna and then everyone sees a third of the population as reptiles. Well, that's going to happen. Go watch that movie. They Live. All the actors were WWF wrestlers. Like the hero was Ruddy, what's his name, right? So, and Basically, you have to realize you have to look at world geopolitics as WWF wrestling. You know, they got the good guy, the bad guy. They go in the ring, they flip each other around, blah blah blah, and at the end of the day, they go back, have a beer together, they're buddies, and it's Miss Moran who owns Heavy. Have you heard all the propaganda coming out of Iran? Of course, and the real interesting thing is Iran is a CIA dupe. It's a cutout. You know, when they got rid of the guy in 1953 or whatever, who was the one honest, voted for Iranian politician, and he was going to lead Iran into a positive Persian based economy, right? And where everybody was, Persians are everybody, Muslims and Sunnis, Shiites, Christians, Jews, So that's what he was going to do, and he got whacked by MI6, who are known. Oh, that's one guy with a small penis. Anyway, and driving a diesel right now is paying $7 a gallon, and that's around here. We have pretty cheap gas. Gas before all of this was $2.40. Now it's $5, and that's only in like 11 days. Wait till we are in the 100th day of this, right? Gas will be like $40 a gallon, right? So anyway, the countries without a central bank. Right, that's what made America great. We didn't have a central bank back in the day, right? When we had gold and silver and stuff like that coming out of the ground, every county, every state had their own script. That's what gave us strength. There was no centralized bank, so you couldn't manipulate it, right? $3 a gallon is cheap. Anyway, so the most important thing that you, the community, the cadre should be doing is in your little neighborhood, you should go reach out to your neighbors and start doing things together. Like start getting a garden together. Go to Lowe's and get all the seeds and all the stuff you're going to need while you can still buy it, and start growing, getting ready to have a nice garden this summer, right? Get things to, capture water, I wouldn't trust any singular water system. What else? But just having your neighbors, see, demographically, the people, about 40,000 people get shot by a handgun every year, right? 38,900 of those people are basically people who the gun that kills them is their own. It's taken away from them and they are shot with it, right? So gun isn't the key component to your safety, Your ability to get along with people is your, right? So I was out in the woods for the last 6 years, and I was, communing with nature and bunnies and butterflies. And then I got put into downtown, so I had to deal with people. And that was done on purpose so I could sharpen my pencil up with dealing with morons. If you are all about the Benjamins, if you, I'm a businessman. I'm a professional. I take care of business. I don't think about anything stupid like God or love or any of that. Forgiveness. Why would I forgive anybody, right? Well, good luck with that. That's what you have to do, You have to be able to allow love's co-creation to be the essence of who and what you are. And you do it in every day and every way in everything you do, right? You don't have to be perfect, but you do your best. So anyway, that's yeah, I'll take the old script.
Absolutely.
Yep. Take care of it before the big crowd shows up. Anyway, it's put that over here. So the question is, what are you going to do? And yeah, I was talking to somebody about, stuff we did as kids, and everyone thinks, oh, well, he grew up in the city, he doesn't know anything. Well,
That sounds bright.
you need those sunglasses.
I do.
Or at least a baseball hat with a...
That'll work.
That'll work. So that's why I got this, see?
There you go. Smart thing.
Yep. So anyway, so yeah, I milked cows, I broke horses, I did all those fun things, Let's see, what are you saying here? Let's see. Thank you.
You go ahead and take this?
Yeah, take it. I'm all done. I'm not going to eat the paper.
Okay. I would hope not.
Yeah, right. Well, I've done it in other times.
Okay.
In more desperate times. I'm contemplating, should I go for the ice cream? Anyway, I think I might skip the ice cream. Still early in the month, and I only have a few pennies left, so I enjoyed the lunch. So anyway, it's no real big deal, really. I mean, the war in Vietnam was way worse than this, right? The oil embargo, way worse than this. The wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, way worse than this. The Arab Spring, way worse than this. So the thing is, what's coming after, right? That song, Don't Get Fooled Again, the new boss, same as the old boss, that's where we're at. We're heading towards, why did Mr. Roddenberry leave naval intelligence and go work for Lucille Ball at Paramount as a script doctor, and then pitch, let's do a space show called Star Trek. Why? Because he wanted to get everyone familiar with the oligarch of the Federation, right? Where everyone got along, where everyone wore kind of nice clothes. Everyone had a box to live in, right? And, you wanted a cheeseburger, you just went over to the little box over in the corner and say, hey, cheeseburger with fries. There it is, right? Oh, sneakers. There it is, right? And if you want to take a crap, you took the little box, you lifted up the lid and crapped in the box. There it went. So that technology already exists. Wireless transmission of electricity. Why do you think there's cars called Tesla? He's the guy who invented it in the 1890s, right? Mr. J.P. Morgan said, sorry, Nick, really can't do this because free electricity without wires, without any meter, I can't make any money. I had to make money, right? And so alternating current superseded DC because DC couldn't be transmitted more than 6 miles. AC could go forever, right? When Nick put generators on the Niagara Falls and wired it to Chicago 900 miles away without a loss of a watt and what's his name? Edison couldn't even get his generator to light up a light bulb, and Tesla, instead of burning incandescent lights, and that's exactly what they did, right? They burned a carbon element, right? Fluorescent lights energize the neon inside the lamp, right? So anyway, and that was in the 1890s, and that was for the Chicago World's Fair. If you ever saw the first Captain America thing when Cap, who's a little weakling, and his buddy Bucky, who's always being his bud, Cap basically never gives up, never gives in, even though he gets beat up all the time. Anyway, he and Bucky go to a World's Fair where Mr. Stark, Tony's dad, has got flying George Jetson cars, but and it breaks down and that's it. So we have extraordinarily sophisticated, way technology you can't even believe, and we've had it since the 1940s. So kind of that's what all of this shit's about, to precipitate the world to give in, to give up for the new world view, right? Just like George Hay said, a new world order with 1,000 points of light where little girls and little boys can all be slaves together, right? Anyway, more like $22 a gallon. Yep, probably, somewhere around that. So, what's up? So it was a really cold, snowy morning, which I slept through, and then by around noon the sun came out, and right now it's comfy but coolish, and but yesterday it was 85 degrees. We had 3 weeks of in the 80 degrees, so that means El Nino is upon us. So that means that we're going to have not a real hot. You know who's going to be hot? California is going to be, basically torched. And that's another thing. They're going after California to get rid of everybody. So only the rich, cockroaches can live there. So they're burning everything down, right? So you ever see Spielberg's movie, Single Player or Player One or whatever that was? That's where we're going. Everyone's going to be living in, who ain't rich, they're going to be living in stacked FEMA trailers from, the hurricane in Louisiana. Anyway. That's a cute little van. It's like a soccer mom van, but bigger. Anyway, so I have no wheels, which is good. It's good to have no wheels. I have no insurance, no gas, no. It's like getting the kids out of the garage, So, so really, everyone's just going through the motions. They really have no idea. They're the Walking Dead. They really are. The Walking Frigging Dead. This little kid is about to pick up some heavy shit. Why doesn't he have a hand truck? Yep, he just squeezed out his back. Where's your hand truck, buddy? You need a hand truck.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Anyway. There's the sun right there, and pretty bright. I'm being illuminated. Anyway, what else? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. Basically everyone's rights are being stepped on. If you're a white male, you've got that much latitude, right? But otherwise, like women, forget it. They have been pushed back 40 years, right? Most of the people in Congress are cockroaches, right? They're not even humans, and they're all have been Epsteined, right? So they all have dirt on them. They all have any moment they're going to be taken advantage of. It's what it is. What can I say? It's so America's toast. It's like really not even close. Such is life, you know. But it's a beautiful day now, right? So I'm not really. But it's always been this way. You know, everyone's going on about Epstein. Our founding fathers were the Epsteins. You know, Thomas Jefferson going after Miss May, right? At age 8, he owned, you know, talk about, trafficking, you know, owning slaves. I don't know if you can't call that trafficking. You know, that's worse than Pizzagate, you know? So, Ben Franklin basically putting a brothel slash Epstein Island slash discotheque in Paris called Hellfire Club, where all the rich and powerful would go and just have, Masonic debauchery, and he would, get the dirt on them so he could blackmail them, so they would sponsor the revolution, which he didn't even believe in. He was just getting his cut. Here's a guy who kind of started the Tavistock Institute because he brought a printing press. Ben, why do you bring a printing press to Europe? Because I want my printing press. So he started printing newspapers and saying that they were from Philadelphia, right? And he was saying it was propaganda about what the English were doing to the, right? And he was sending them into England and into France and into, all over. And people could tell that they weren't coming from a printing press that was like from Europe. It looked like straight up, they took newspapers from Ben when he was printing them in Philadelphia and putting them up next to the ones that they were seeing. And yeah, look, they're the same thing. Right? It's called propaganda. Anyway, so mind control, right? So that's what we got going on, If you believe anything that anybody says, I mean, Israel isn't letting anybody pull up their phone and start taking pictures of things blown up. They arrest you immediately, and you immediately go to jail for 5 years. No going to court, no getting a lawyer. You just end up in a really crappy hole for 5 years, just for telling the truth, right? And Donnie, I love my Donnie Chump because he has destroyed the United States. I mean, it was already destroyed. It was destroyed, by 1812. 1812 was when whatever hope for America was gone, right? Because basically the English came straight up the Potomac, burnt D.C. to the ground, and said, by then founding fathers were old farts. Said, okay, boys, this is it. You are our bitches. We have this new thing called the special relationship. You do exactly what we say, and you pay for it. You're going to be our bitches. And that's what we've been ever since, right? So we went and conquered all the land, so they didn't have to. They didn't have to pay for it. They didn't have to put an army here. We did it for them, right? They got their resources to run their mills in England. And anyway, so that's kind of where it's at. It's what it is. So how heavy were each of those boxes? 20 pounds?
I wouldn't say that, maybe 15.
Uh,
I used to work for FedEx, they were a lot heavier.
That's a cute little van. I could live in that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so that's the story. What else can I tell you? That ice cream is calling me. Hal, you want some ice cream? No, I don't. Because the thing is, it's really good ice cream, but it's $6 a scoop. It's like, no, I can't afford that. So did you guys just get straight up ice cream, or did you get like a sundae?
Got like a Sunday with strawberry.
Ooh, it's tempting. It's tempting. Yep, sundae with strawberries. I might have to no. What willpower can do, right? It's so sunny. I'm gonna stay out here. I might go. They owe me a hot chocolate and a coffee, so I'll take that instead. That'll be my sugar thing. Anyway, so what else can I say? No one else is watching. We've had the show here for 26 minutes. Meaning, as God always tells me, Al, don't worry about it because it always could be worse. And until we learn to submit to God's will, it's always going to be worse. Go read Job, right? And then the next book after Job is what? It's the New Testament. It's Paul selling used cars, right? So the Bible is a good book to read because it's actually coded, right? It's not real. It's God's word. That really strange thing. It is God's word, but it's in a coded form, right? And I told you that story of being in Trinity College in Dublin, and going for the working for Archie, the anthropologist that was looking for pyramids on the west coast of Ireland, which we did find, and they don't really advertise it too much, but we did find them. And Archie got to be a duke or an earl or something. I mean, he was already a prince, but he didn't go Epstein. He was, he's the guy who taught me to be an itinerant scholar, right? He's my master at that. See, you need to have a master here and there, but the only God, a master is just a high-level teacher, right? And a master, the next thing after a master is a prophet, right? So there's the dog boy, right? The material man, the man of flesh, the fleshy human, and fleshy human is run by the 3 M's, 3 H's: hunger, horny, and hubris. That's the 3 H's, right? And then there's the second guy, the guy who's kind of been opened up by experience of God's love and been born again, right? And that's what gets you born again. It's God's love, right? But you can still be a fleshy Triple H, and still be born again, right? So you're saved, but you're still, a Triple H, right? Then the third guy is an apostle, like Jesus's boys, right? And so they were, more than born again because they hung with Jesus for 3 years and were exposed and saw his miracles and were starting to do them themselves. But they had no real faith. That's why they wanted Jesus to stay there. They thought that if Jesus left their side, they would lose their juice and they'd lose their authority, their status, right? And that's why I didn't want him to leave. And he said, no, I got to go so the Spirit can come into you. And they did, but they still didn't have the faith. So that's why they could never leave, Palestine and Jerusalem, right? They stuck around that neck of the woods. That was their home base. They were supposed to go everywhere, right? And that's why Jesus showed up to Saul. Saul was the biggest, dirtbag there was. He was car salesman. He was a Roman lawyer / rich kid / Jewish / Pharisee, right? And he was also a sacristy. He was just so such a sack, right? So he meets Jesus and realizes, oops, oh wow. So he was more than born again. He was pushed past being an apostle, right? So, but he was out there, and it turned him, what was past the apostle? The thing past the apostle was a used car salesman slash advertising pitchman, and that's Paul, right? And he collected a bunch of his own apostles, Luke, Matthew, John, Larry, Mo, Curly, Shemp, and they wrote postcards to him, and he basically the whole New Testament is straight out, and he didn't write them. Luke kind of did because Luke was the smart one, and by the time Paul became Paul, and he was traveling around, he basically was getting to be blind, but he was smart. He was super literate. He was rich, powerful, and so he was working the house while Luke was writing it down, and the other guys were writing postcards. So by the time that Paul died, and then he, basically became John on that island, and wrote all that other shit with the other guy, and then they both died, and then the Vatican took over the Roman Empire and became the Holy Roman Empire, and they went out and got a hold of all of that stuff and brought it back to the Holy See and started getting monkeys with typewriters on crack to put together the King James. So that's kind of it. So it is a code. It is the Word of God. It really is. But you have to be open for God's love to understand it. If you take it as you're a Pharisee, like a lot of the guys in the ice cream church are Pharisees. I mean, man, they can quote that shit to you, but they got it all on their phone and blah, 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 right? So me, I just know it. So when we talk about it, I talk it like off the cup, stream of consciousness, just like I'm talking to you guys, right? Ooh, 2 thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so kind of that's what you guys have to start doing. Talking to love's co-creation. To everyone, you're at the line, BBC News, Iran's new supreme guy. Anyway, so this war is the Iranian war is going to go on for a long time. They've been preparing this war for 45 years. So this war ain't going to be over in 2 days. This war is, and it's not going to end up on Donnie's, I have to pick the president, I have to do this, I have to do that. No, sorry, buddy, you're not going to, right? You're going to lose a couple of aircraft carriers. You're going to lose $1 trillion worth of hardware. You're going to break the back of, the War Department will no longer be called the War Department. It won't even be called the Defense Department. It will be called, can I have a coffee and a hot chocolate, please? Please. Thank you. Anyway, so that'll be, instead of ice cream, I'll have that. If they charge me, it'll be $2. So anyway, it's so you need to go. So I'm, hanging out with the Walking Dead old folks. Oh, my life sucks. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're so fucking medicated. They're taking every drug. This one woman, she died, and then she came back, and she's like hobbling around. And I said, well, where are you going? She said, I have to take the garbage. I said, no. I said, you're letting the garbage drop everywhere. Let me take this out for you. So I did. Oh, you're such a nice man. Do you live here? Yes, I've talked to you before. I said, so tell me your story. Let's sit down here. Let's talk. So we talked. And she had just came back from the hospital and being in the hospital for 5 weeks because she had 10 different doctors, and they all gave her 10 different medical protocols, medicines, and they all belong to the same, medical, corporation. Everything's on. There she is, the star bright, starlight. And so, the bottom line is that they killed her by giving her all these medicines that were contra, and should never take this one with that one, and they gave her, right? And then she had to stay in the hospital for 5 weeks and get her blood, like, cleansed from all the poisons that were in her, and she survived, right? Not to say that it didn't have its deleterious effect, like on her brain cells and everything else. And so pretty much everyone around here, because there's about 20 of these Mossad housing projects where the people are just, HUD housing, it's soy and green, it's people. It's kind of like it. They're not gonna. There's not going to be any food in the supermarket by April, right? But April Fool's going to be pretty big. April Fool's this year, really, really big one. It's going to be fun. Even the cops won't be able to afford gasoline, and if they can't, cops don't show up unless they can drive there. They don't walk anywhere. So anyway, this is all going to be, and April is just around the corner. What's today? March 10th or 11th or 12th, something like that. So, less than 40 days-ish, kind of. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby. You might even see Jesus walking off the cross for this Easter, right? Ooh, baby, ooh, baby. So, what else is new? Are we on the red line yet? Not quite. Soon. So this show's been running for what? 35 minutes, right? That's pretty long. Longer than the others. And a few of you have said, hey. And so I'm happy you're all there. Yeah, somebody was calling me gay the other day. You're a homosexual. Just because I'm wearing what is known as a snuggie. It's like a hood that goes down to your kneecaps, right? And it keeps you nice and snug, So it's a little nippy right now. So this is, I'm wearing my snuggie. Anyway, and it's got a nice hood to keep the sun out of my eyes. And I found it in a garbage pail. So hey, I washed it up, and there I was. Someone said, "Why do you wear a dress?" I said, "It's not a dress, it's a snuggie." "You're gay." I said, No, I'm not gay. But my boyfriend, he's a faggot. Boom, 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 anyway. And just like Jerry and George would say, that person's a homosexual, but there's nothing wrong with that, So that's the bottom line, kids. There's nothing wrong with whatever you are, right? Don't get upset about it. God made you that way. Just be your best. That's all you got to be. When I was in Local 3, they had this thing. Local 3 was a great community. It was started like in the 1890s to 1909. And it was community-based, right? They were building their own housing for their own guys and people who needed housing. They had their own hospitals. That's what Blue Cross Blue Shield was. And they bought property outside of New York on the Palisades, right? And they would send kids up the Hudson and go hiking up the hills to go camping and getting out of New York, right? And so that was the union I grew up in. So I used to work for the Boys Athletic League Girl Vacation Fund. And they had this beautiful building on 7th Avenue, right? That was a union building. The union had a number of halls, right? But they had this beautiful one on 7th Avenue. I was kind of downtown. And it was a union hall. Union guys would hang out there. It had its own restaurant. It had its own little hospital. And what it had that was really great was a place for women and children who had no place to be, homeless, right? And there was no such thing as homeless in the 60s and 70s, right? There was. They were called bums. But women, I remember a friend of mine from NYU. Thank you, Don.
Here's that for you.
Okay, thanks. So, don't go anywhere. Come here.
Oh, okay.
Let's take care of business.
Okay.
Hey. 1, 2, 3. There's 3. How much is that?
$4.39.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry, I just dropped it.
Yes, yeah. Well, I owe you 39 cents. I owe you 39 cents.
Okay.
Just go tell her. I owe her 39
I'll
cents.
tell her and see what she says.
Yeah, see what she says.
Okay.
Because, come here. Usually with my lunch, I get the other coffee with this coffee, and I get the chocolate for free. So that's what it usually is. But it's past lunchtime, so maybe that's why that's it. But tell her for sure tomorrow I'll bring the 39 cents.
Okay, I'll tell her.
If she really, if the building is going to collapse without the 39 cents, I'll go home and get 39 cents and be right back. But otherwise, tomorrow, I'll give the 39 cents, okay? Did you get that? I've dropped more money in this place. I am their most, loyal customer. Because of this, I am not coming back here. Maybe for a week. Because when I come back in a week, they'll go, where were you? Where were you? And I said, well, I had to earn that 39 cents, And that's capitalism. See, these people used to be open 5 days a week. Now they got pretty popular. So they're now open here 7 days a week. They never take any time off. They're always here. So, the thing that's important is money. Right? So that's this place. Now they still put out a good pizza and a good salad and a good coffee and a good chocolate. So, but that they charge me for something they normally give me. Oh. But the sun is really nice.
We're all good.
What?
We're all good.
We're all good?
Yep.
Yeah, she's not desperate for the 39 cents.
No, we're good. We got you covered.
Okay. And I'm making a fortune on. I recycled the styrofoam cups too. I tell you, that French roast and Swiss hot chocolate, yum, yum, yum. Even though it's made from artificial substances, made from the fuzz off of animals' testicles. I had to take a microscope and look at the box and see what it was made out of, and that's what it said. Made from dandruff from unknown animals' testicles. Anyway, that's the world you live in, kids. Schlangefall. Schlancha. Baby. So, what do you think? What do you think? What are you saying here? Love from India. How's India doing? So, are you burning down the temples to cook your chicken? Now you have no LPG, LNPG, liquid natural gas, LNG. Yeah, you guys who won't have LNG, I would say, what is today? Thursday? Next Monday, India will have no LNG, at least not LNG you can afford, right? Are you using coal yet? Bro, where are you from? I am from everywhere, but I kind of was born and grew up in Harlem, New York City, 1950. And I left there and went on to Long Island. My grandpa, I was brought up with my grandma and grandma, and my grandpa had, he was a pretty famous barber surgeon, and he basically had a big fancy, he was J.P. Morgan's barber surgeon. He would work on JP's nose. You know, JP had syphilis. And so his nose always looked like a rutabaga. So my grandfather would like scrape it down, put some silly putty in there, make him look like he had a real nose. And every week or so he had to do that. Anyway, that was JP. That's how my grandpa got there. My grandpa saw my grandma. It was like something out of the movie Titanic. You were so right, John, about the rain. It started raining like 5 minutes after you walked back into your office. You're the man. You know, if you ever give up this job, you can become a weatherman. Enjoy this sunny day, John. So that guy, he is the Supreme Court judge here. Now, that's the guy you want to be able to talk to like that. Make fun, tell jokes, talk about serious stuff when no one else is listening. And so why he's a good Supreme Court judge is because he drives a little Ford car, probably a 2015 or 16 or 17, and it's in really good shape. The side view mirror and the side in the back, he kind of crinkled a little bit, but other than that, it's all good. There he is. You're looking good in those glasses. Those glasses, they're you. Your glasses are you, buddy. So that's what I do. I sit out here in the sun and make comments. Try to make people a little happy. The guy got out of the car with an attitude, and I said that to him, and he started to smile. Now, it looked like he was going to go in, meet his girlfriend or his wife, and scream at her, but now he's not going to. Let's see how this person does. She's desperate for an ice cream cone. Let's see if she can park her car. No. She's going to smash in the back of that car. Going to smash in that. She's dead. Ooh, baby. Ooh, she's inches away. Yeah, she's 1.5 feet away from the curb. Yeah, but that's okay. Anyway. Peace. Drive safe, my bro. Watch out for this lady now. He flashed me the peace sign. That was good. Let's see, what are you saying here? I got admitted to university in where? Milwaukee. 18-year-old Indian. How can I expect my life to be there? You know how? I'll tell you about your life. What you got to do is walk into that place. Wherever you go, you have to walk into the room like you own it. The only way you can own it is through humility. You know Vishnu? You know Vishnu, right? How would Vishnu do what you just asked me? That's how you walk. You walk in, you own it, but with humility and a smile on your face and love in your eyeballs, right? That's all you got to do. How to do that? Well, 74 days, that's greater than 40. I mean, basically, here in America, everyone has supplies for about 4 minutes. That's about it. They are so addicted to stuff. They have to be in their car and go buy more and more and more and more and more. Me, I live on $400 a month. I started doing that in 2014, like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. So I got it down, right? So yeah, I got enough bags of potatoes and onions to last for a good long time. Anyway, so and the bottom line, supplies aren't going to stop. They're just going to get ridiculously expensive because that's what we're about. We're about making profit. Look at the New York Stock Exchange, the oil companies, and that's what Donald Trump said. Oh, it's really great. It's great that he actually said this. He said it's great that the price of gasoline is going up $1 at the pump because the oil companies have made over $2 billion just today. He said it was great. It was great for America that the oil companies made $2 billion just for today. He said it's just going to go through the roof. It's going to be terrific. Didn't say anything about the poor people who have to pay that extra dollar. Tomorrow will be another dollar, another dollar, and another dollar. Until it gets so expensive no one can buy it and it'll stop, like someone said, $20. Right? So that'll kind of be it, right? So, yes. Let's see. Is it redlined yet? No, but soon. So that's how you get in there, right? Thanks. But how is America is built on racism? Come on, the Constitution. Look who were our founding fathers, all white, racist. They all had slaves. They were all like pedophiles. They were all of the above. Right? That's what America. Look what the United States. First European who got here, Christopher Columbus, right? He lands in Haiti, right? Totally whack. I mean, he's next to death from scurvy. The Indians get him. They go out there, they grab him up the boat, take him in, take care of him, feed him, heal him. When he wakes up, he writes in his little book, oh, wow, we've been saved by the natives. They're really great. They're tall, they're handsome, they're strong. They have a beautiful society. They have no war. They have no violence. Everything is, they're generous beyond a T. They're really smart. They'll make great slaves. I could conquer these people with 2 guys and a gun. And that's what he did. He came back with his psycho son and 2,500, shock troops with cannon and guns. And within, 4 years, killed 6 million Haitian Indians. Basically, mostly from disease. It had cleared out all the trees, all the swamps, everything that made Haiti a garden paradise and turned it into a thing just growing sugar and tobacco because it's so profitable. And so they just went across the water and grabbed some black people, brought them back. And a few of the black people they brought back, brought these plants called cotton and the other thing called rice. And it worked so good in Haiti that they took it to South Carolina and made, they used to call the thing King Cotton. When the Civil War happened, New York State said, hey, we're going to secede with the South because the South holds 80% of all the net worth of the New York Stock Exchange. George Washington, our first president, was sworn in as a president on the steps of the New York Stock Exchange. That says it all. So yes, America is a super racist place, and you should feel comfortable here, young lad from India, because it's all built on a caste system, right? And the only color that really matters is green. So if you got a lot of green, you got nothing to worry about. So that's kind of how it works. So But remember, own that room with humility. You know, go in there with Vishnu in your heart. Will I get a white girlfriend? Well, if you're cool, if you go in and own that place and don't look for a girl, let the girl find you. My whole life, I've never been the three H's. I've never been hungry, horny, or hubris, right? I've just been a cheeky monkey that's interested in understanding what's going on. That's pretty much been it. So I would go into a room, look around, and the first thing, well, I did usually have the first H, hungry. I went into a room and there was a nice bed. I would go over there and fill a plate, right? And then find a place to sit down. And wherever that place was to sit down, usually the most interesting person was sitting down. Like one time, I went to a party. I met David Bowie in Danceteria. I had no idea it was David Bowie. He looked like he came out of JQ magazine. He was wearing linen pants, Italian shoes, a silk shirt, and had a beautiful white sweater around his neck, like tied like he just finished playing tennis, right? And he was the only guy there. It was about 8 o'clock. I would go to all these clubs and make sure every exit light bulb was on and stuff. So when the inspectors would come around, try to jack up the owners, there was nothing that they could, complain about. And I would get $100. I'd walk in, make sure there was nothing wrong, have a drink or talk to the owner or talk to the bouncer or talk to some girls behind the bar. And then, because they were just getting ready. I mean, the crowd would never shuffle in until about, in New York City discos until about 10. Anyway, so I was in there, and Danceteria was an old department store, like from the 1890s. So there was about 6 floors, each floor about 5,000 square feet. So it was, a little mini disco each floor. So there'd be jazz on one floor, heavy metal on one, punk on one, Anyway, so David was listening to these guys do atonal music, and I saw him. I said, "Boy, that's interesting. What do you think?" He goes, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Did you go to the other floors?" He goes, "There are other floors?" "Yeah, come on." And I, flagged down one of the elevators, girls, and we'd go to the floor. I said, "Just, stay here a while. There's nobody. Smoke a cigarette. We'll be right back." And we kind of looked at all of Danceteria in about 15 minutes, and I said, "Buddy, are you hungry?" And he goes, "Yeah." And so I take him down to Chinatown. But before I do, we stop off at Washington Square Park, where the mobsters are, where the Frankenstein, parking machine was. And we have a great time with them. And, the titty bar girls from, one of Tony Soprano's, flesh palaces is, doing, roller derby. And then we go from there to Chinatown, and then we end up in Little Italy at Luna's and have some wedding cake. So anyway, and then we walk, due east and go up from about Canal Street, like through, Little, right on the edge of Chinatown where Manhattan Bridge is, and we go up the pedestrian walk and walk across to the middle of Manhattan Bridge, and it has a beautiful, beautiful view up there. And we just sat there, and he had a really nice blunt, so we were smoking a blunt and looking at the beautiful view of like out into the Atlantic and the Statue of Liberty and Staten Island over there and Kennedy Airport over there and Manhattan back there. And then we went down and we walked like through this really interesting little neighborhood where I had a little apartment, showed him that apartment, and then we walked up Mott Street to where I had another little apartment and showed him that little apartment. And then we went over to where on 16th Street you can get onto the walkway that goes from 16th Street right over the FDR Drive all the way up to, where the mayor is, right? So we walk up there, and it's beautiful, it's nice, and, we stop every quarter mile and smoke a little bit more of a blunt, and he's got a little flask, and we're having a really good time. And then we, get to about, he's staying at the Waldorf Astoria, so we around, I don't know, whatever it is, 50 something street. We kind of walk across that to there, and it's the sun is about, the sky is kind of turning from black to sunrise soon. And so the Oak Room was open, and they have a really great breakfast. So we go in there, we have breakfast, and then he goes, listen, tomorrow night I'm going to have a party in my suite here. Why don't you come? I'll put your name on the list. I said, what's, Al, right? OWL. And so he goes, okay. And so I go up there the next night, and there are all these usual suspects, all the flim flam people, all of the arty, esoteric people. There's Andy Warhol. I knew Andy really well, and other people like that. And he's got a beautiful spread. So I get a spread. And anyway, I knock on the door. He has his security there. I'm on the list. I come in. And he stops mid-sentence of talking to all these people. Here's the guy I was telling you about. This is Al. I met him at Danceteria. He showed me all of New York like I've never seen New York before. And he goes on, telling the story. And I'm just kind of smiling, not saying anything. And he's still telling the story. And I see the spread. I go over there. I fix myself up a plate. And I sit down next to this guy on the couch. And David is still telling the story. And I put the plate down. I look at this old guy. I say, "It's okay if I share the couch with you?" And the guy goes, "Sure." And so there's something very familiar about this guy, and I don't know what it is, but I'm about to dig in, and this usual suspect girl, she's a poet I know, and she comes over. So you know David Bowie? And I said, "Who? David Bowie? Who? The guy there, David." I said, "David, yeah, I know David. That's David Bowie." I said, "That's David Bowie?" Well, I didn't know that. Anyway, and that's why that guy, David Bowie, liked me, because I didn't treat him like David Bowie. I treated him like David. Da-da-da, So anyway, I'm sitting there. She goes away because I didn't respond like, "Oh, wow, I'm so cool." And I'm telling you this story, Mr. Indian person, because I'm sitting next to this old guy. And so we're talking about a little this, a little that. I keep saying, there's something really familiar about this guy. And so he goes, do you smoke marijuana? And I go, "Yeah, a little bit." He goes, "Do you do psychotropic drugs?" And I go, "Well, I have, but it's not a regular thing." He goes, "Well, I do it every day." And he goes, "Would you like some?" And I go, "Yeah, why not?" So I said, "So what kind of dose is this?" He goes, "Super, super, super small. I've been, I've had a mental problem for a good deal of my life, about my personality and who I really am." I said, "Oh, okay. And this has been good for you?" "Oh," he goes, "This is the best. It's like put everything in perspective, and I'm a happy person, and everyone should do not a lot. I'm not like totally. I'm tripping right now, but I'm not like out of my mind." And so, a little sugar cube, put it under my tongue. Then he lights up a blunt, and it's like lamb's breath, really good stuff. So we're sitting there in David Bowie's suite in the super duper fancy hotel just off of Central Park, where they have the horses that ride you around. And so we're talking, right? We're talking. So I said, "So what's the issue?" He goes, "Well, I'm pushing 80, and my wife, my girlfriend, she's a movie star, and she's 29. I said, "Oh, well, that's kind of cool." And he goes, "Oh, and she loves me so much, and we have a baby." I said, "Oh, and you're a father too? Well, that's great." He goes, "It is great." But I was having some real issues because I came from England, and I was Archie, sandbag, and I was just a bag of shit. And then I came to New York to be a bag of shit, and then somebody said, "You'd make a good movie star." And that's when it clicked. I said, "So you're a movie star?" He goes, "Yes, I guess I still am, but I haven't made a movie in about 10 years. And I said, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I am Cary Grant." Right? Now, this story I'm telling to you, to Mr. Indian person, because Cary Grant was a bag of shit. He came from the worst part of London there could ever be. Meaning, whatever you are and you go to London today, you would be treated better than Cary Grant was when he was like your age now, like 16 or 18, right? That's when he came to America. And so someone brought him to, the movies, and they said, okay, you're not, Archie bag of shit. You are, we're going to figure out a name for you, and we're going to teach you to be a movie star. And that's what he was. So wherever he walked in, he was Cary Grant. And that was the persona that, so when he's taking that LSD, that was his, this beautiful movie star girl married him because of the really sweet guy he was. And, that's what you have to be, Mr. Indian Boy. Forget about whatever anxiety you have about being Indian, right? Being the other. Forget it. Be yourself. Be Cary Grant. Pick a personality and be that. Be Cary Grant. Go watch some Cary Grant movies. He's dead. You can be Cary Grant. And, when you go to school, go to a party, and no one knows who Cary Grant is anymore, just old farts like me. So you go to some, you go to the college and you are at a party. And so, they say, who are you? You say, well, I'm Cary Grant. So watch a bunch of Cary Grant movies. I mean, you're never going to talk like him, but he didn't talk he learned how to talk like that. So learn to have me. I got murdered by a nun. She broke my esophagus, my windpipe, my voice box, broke my jaw, broke the ear here so I can't hear out of that, broke the orbit so I can't see out of that eye. And the Maryknoll nuns put me back together, and I speak the way I do because of what they did. So I'm like Cary Grant, right? So I walk into any room, I own it, but with humility, right? You have to always say to yourself, what would Vishnu do, right? So is any of this making sense to you, buddy? And you really don't want a white girlfriend because 99.9% of the white girlfriends are dumber than dog shit. Now, they aren't. It's not their fault. They're way smarter than white guys. But because of the hegemony of stupidity in the United States, just look where our founding fathers came from. So, when Thomas, the guy who wrote Declaration of Independence, right? Jefferson, right? Tommy. He was higher than a kite on blunts and LSD, like the mold off of bread, You should read when he was in France trying to get the French tobaccos, all he could do was write back home about how to take care of the marijuana plants, right? So, have you got any of this? Did any of this make any sense to you? Again, it's just little question marks, okay. But anybody wants to talk to me in mano y mano, get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at Gmail, right? Dudeawake42 at Gmail, right? Well, I think I gotta go because the battery is like uber low, and it hates it when the show dies with a dead battery. So, hope you enjoyed all of this. It was okay. I probably won't be back doing a show for at least a day or two or three, unless I change my mind, because that's the beauty of being retired. Or really, that's the beauty of doing what God tells you to do.